Hi guys, how's it going? Welcome to this episode of the XYZ. Today we're here with Rossana, which is our special guest for this episode. So to give you guys a little bit of a background, Rossana, we met in China a few years ago. How many exactly?
Maybe like 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah, kind of, right? Yeah. So we met in Beijing, and then we're here today in Colombia a few years afterwards. She has a great career in dancing. So she was a salsa teacher and what other?
Latin dances, salsa, bachata, and as well belly dance and flamenco and some other dances as well.
Okay.
Hi, by the way.
And so after China, she decided to leave China, and now she's on the way to become a pilot.
That's right.
So that's a crazy change. And through this episode, hopefully we're going to see how that transition worked out, and hopefully we can all learn something from you.
Yeah, all right. Let's do it.
Okay, awesome. So Rossana, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Rossana Estrada. I'm 24 years old. Currently, I'm studying to be a commercial pilot. Before I lived in China for about 7 years. I lived in Beijing where I studied Chinese, and I was a dancer and a performer. And I lived in Hong Kong, and over there I started up a business. I made a dance studio, which after I had to close it, but it was a great learning experience. And then here I am in Colombia.
So I'm sure you have a lot of different stories, and like unfortunately we don't have that much time. But yeah, go ahead and tell us something like really curious or a story that you would like to share with us.
It was when I just came back to Colombia the first time after being in China. Like I was in China for 5 years and I didn't come back to Colombia at all.
Okay.
I didn't see my family, I didn't see no one in here. And so I came back, I had a cultural shock, again, living with my parents after so long. And then my parents, my father, he wanted me to stay in Colombia. He wanted me to get into university here and study here and just set up here. But I was so firm and so focused on my dreams and what I wanted to do. And so I was like a rebel, and I said like, no, I'm going to Hong Kong to open up my business. I had to do like accounting, the financial, the administrative work, the marketing, the dance classes, the cleaning, everything by myself. And it was a great learning experience. It was tiring. I had like money issues, but I decided to have it. Like I had the opportunity to have everything in here as my family was giving me the opportunity, but I decided to get the rocky road just because I wanted to pursue my dream.
Just out of curiosity, so where in Hong Kong did you have the studio?
It was in Wan Chai. It was open for about 8 months.
Okay.
And yeah, it was tough, but it was nice.
And just to give everyone that's watching us a little bit of background, like Hong Kong is an extremely international city, so I'm sure you had students from all over the place. What countries did they come from?
I had Chinese people, like Hong Kongers, Russians, some European people, yeah, as well Latin people.
And how did you feel that people treated you as a very young dancer in such a big city?
Well, first I started in Beijing when I started my dancing classes, and I was very welcomed because I was doing my classes in Chinese.
Oh, okay, wow.
So I was teaching Chinese people, and I was teaching them in Chinese, and they loved it. They really loved it. I had like lots of students, and I could not just teach them some steps, but as well even teach them a culture, like Colombian culture, Latin culture. Our classes were very happy. Sometimes I will even teach them Spanish words, because as well, not just on dancing I worked, but as well on cultural events.
How much time did it take you to decide to become a pilot, and how did that happen? You just woke up one day and like, hey, I want to fly?
It took me maybe around 3 months.
Okay.
And it was kind of like a knife in my belly, because it was like I dreamed so much about like being the greatest dancer, and then it was realizing, no, I'm not gonna be.
Okay.
So after as well being so positive, like, yeah, you have to follow your dreams, and if you work, you will do it. Like, if you work hard, you will make it. But it was like, no, I'm not gonna make it actually.
Okay.
And it was like a slap in the face, like, realize, like, put your feet on the ground and realize that you are not gonna be it. That. But the turning point there is don't be so stubborn sometimes with one dream. Sometimes the situation is not the best, but you can open up your mind and check out other opportunities and do your best always. I never knew I would like to fly so much. It was actually something we were talking about with my dad. My dad is like a coach. So we were talking with him, and he basically told me, like, have you thought about this? And it was so weird because I actually never thought about, like, I always liked planes, but the idea of traveling, but I really never thought about being a pilot. For me, and I guess for most of people, or for many people, this is a men's job.
Okay, yeah.
Like, as a woman, I'm like, as a pilot. And then I start searching for it, and I'm like, why I didn't think about this before? I didn't know if I was gonna do good when I, start. I don't even know how to drive a car. I don't know how to drive a car.
Still don't know
I don't know how
okay,
to drive a
good.
car.
Okay.
This year, after I get my pilot license, I'm gonna get my driving license.
Okay.
It's very challenging in another way that there are people still that think that women cannot be a pilot. And I've heard stories of people that wouldn't go on board an airplane because the pilot is a woman.
Okay.
And in the business, like, majority are men, so I will face many things because this is a career that is very strict. And like, on my artistic side, I have to take my serious side too. And it's a career that has lots of pressure because I'm in charge of many people. And so it's a new, different thing for me. But yeah, over there it was the idea, and I love it.
What about, like, what would you say has been the best moment so far in your life?
For me, learning Chinese was tough. I made the challenge to have the highest score in the Chinese language proficiency test, which is the HSK6.
Oh, wow. You took all the way up to 6?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it took me 5 years.
Okay.
And actually, it's funny with that one because, like, when I left Colombia, when I was 16, my father told me, you cannot come back home until you don't have the HSK6.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You are not welcome at home.
Wow.
And so I didn't go back home for 5 years until I took the HSK6. I came back home.
I'll interrupt you for a second because I think everyone should know how hard that test is. So Chinese Mandarin has over 20,000 characters. How many did you learn? Like,
HSK6 has around like 6,000 to 8,000 characters.
So when you think about things, what language do you think in?
Well, it depends in the place where I'm living in the moment. Because like when I was living in China, I was living with Chinese people, working with Chinese people. Like, my life was all about China. My friends, everyone around me was Chinese at some point, like the last years mainly. And so I used to even dream in Chinese. Although sometimes I like to, there are some words that in some language that are like more comfortable to use them.
Of course.
So sometimes I will say like, oh, this is not, oh, this is ma fan. You know, ma fan. I think everyone who speaks Chinese is gonna laugh right now, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
like,
almost when I left China, I couldn't stop saying chabudo all the time to explain things or more or less. So yeah, they always stick to you.
Yeah, some words they stick to. When I arrived to Colombia, I will say all the time like, yeah.
That's very Chinese, guys.
That's very Chinese. It's like, you know, in Spanish you say like uy, and then in English you say like oh, and then in Chinese you say aya, or you say aigamaya. So I think those things stick to you until some point. Now being in Colombia, I'm now like mostly thinking in Spanish because everything around me is like in Spanish.
So I know we spoke already about your dad being very important in your life. What about the rest of your family or your friends? Like the first time that you went to China, what did they say when you came back? I don't know, how was their reaction?
For my family and friends has always been a little bit crazy my life in a way that so there is one story as well behind being in China and so on. Like when I was around like 12 years or 13 years, actually I went out of school.
Okay.
I like didn't come back to school anymore. Because my dad thought that, my parents thought that in the school I was not gonna learn as much as I could do outside and in other environment. Yeah. So 13, I was out of school. I was having like music classes, dancing classes, Kumon, which is like math classes, English classes, singing classes. I was in a lot of art things. I was reading about geography, history. I had some Spanish classes too, but it was everything aside and it was in different places. So I had to be at age 12, 13 with people older than me. And that developed some other skills in me. And the idea was to, like, my father thought that in the school sometimes you maybe not waste, but sometimes you are just too much into like having friends and like you do the homework because you have to give it to the teacher, but you don't really learn much and so on. So I finished my high school being in China online. For everyone was like, what? Like, you're crazy, your family's crazy, how is this happening? And now with aviation, it was such a big change as well that people are like, what? Like, they don't understand how come I from dancing, I jumped to aviation. My family has been very supportive. My mom, my dad, my family. My friends as well.
So now, I would really like to know about what's your XYZ? My
XYZ, I think, will be like a quality that I have is that I like to help people. And I like to help people to be the better version of themselves. And in the process, I like to become the better version of myself as well. I like to learn from people.
So everything we've heard today is fantastic. Just to close this out, I would really like you to give everyone some advice. And I'm sure that a lot of people would find your story inspiring and they would appreciate anything you would like to tell them.
Always follow your dreams, but keep open to new opportunities, new experiences that can show you that you might have other dreams as well that you haven't discovered. If you are always so like close to just one thing, you maybe are losing a great chance in your life of doing something as well great.
So Rossana, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Jeffrey. 谢谢你.
不用谢，不客气. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please follow us here, add us on social media, and stay tuned for our next episodes. I think Rossana also wants to share her website and so on.
Yeah, well, thank you guys for watching XYZ Method. And you can follow me in www.rossanaestrada.com and Rossana Estrada on Instagram as well.
Thank you guys and see you next time.
Thank you, bye. 再见.